Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Min and today we're gonna switch things up and talk about the wedding venues that I went to last year for our wedding. So first things first, I just want to give a little bit of context. My husband and I, we live in South Africa, here in Cape Town, and I'm from South Korea. So all my family members are still in South Korea, so we wanted to do two weddings, one here in Cape Town and one in Seoul in Korea. Today's video is gonna be sort of a vlog, review, debrief, tour on all the venues that I visited in Cape Town. And even though the wedding happened end of last year, I still wanted to make this video because I've got all these clips. I just wanted to look back on it, but also maybe it'll be helpful for those who are looking for wedding venue here in Cape Town, or if you're just interested in like the wedding scene in Cape Town, South Africa. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Also, by the way, I'm wearing my wedding shawl that I knitted, but it's getting quite hot in the sun, so I might take it off during the video. So okay, let's get started. I've got my notepad here, all the details of the venues that we went to. So I'll go through them one by one. The first wedding venue that we visited was called Rooftop on Bree. So this was a little bit different to like typical wedding venues, especially here in South Africa. I think the very classic, very Cape Townian South African venue would be wine farm, wine vineyard. So this venue was a little different, and that's why my mother-in-law said maybe we should go check it out, just because it's something a little young, something, as I said, something different. So it was a rooftop bar in Bree, so in CBD, which we don't really like. We don't really go to CBD that often. It's just always so crowded. Parking's always a mission, and we prefer the suburbs. This particular venue, first things first, they don't have their own parking bay, which is kind of expected, I guess, like any places in town. So that was one of the concerns, like how would people come to the venue? But then again, because we were serving alcohol, we did think, okay, but many people will probably Uber. But it was one of the things that was like, in the middle of town, no parking bay. Sure, there is Bree street parking, but that's public parking bays. And they are always full anyway, so pretty much non-existent parking bays. So that was one thing. And second of all, because it's rooftop, there were a few stairs. So everyone with heels or any elderly people who struggle to walk, that would have been a little bit of a problem. Also, it wasn't wheelchair accessible. That was also another thing. It's just too hot now. I can't. I was gonna wear this because, you know, wedding shawl, wedding video, wedding shawl, but I'm melting, so I actually can't wear that. Must say, but the nice thing about this venue was because it's a rooftop, it had great view. It had that typical, you know, Cape Town view of the Table Mountain and the Lion's Head. That was really nice. And also the decor was already there. There were like hanging plants and everything was white. So sort of not much decor needed to be added for the wedding. So that was a good thing. But other than those 2 points, like the view and the venue is already pretty, it was a bit too small for us. No designated dance floor. And yeah, it was just like not really a wedding vibe. I would say it was more like a 21st or like a cocktail party or even 40th, I don't know, like a birthday party kind of vibe more than wedding. So it was nice to go have a look, but it was quite an instant, okay, this is probably not going to be the venue. So that was Rooftop on Bree. The second venue we went was called The Range in Tokai. So Tokai area, if you're familiar, it's quite a nice area, I would say. Very green, a lot of foresty area. It's really nice, like nature vibe area. So that was quite nice for us because that's kind of what we like. We don't really like the kind of like modern chic, that kind of vibe. We're more like the rustic nature, green, that kind of thing was what we wanted. So this was very much what I liked and what Derek liked as well. This actually ended up being the top 2 venues that we were deciding between at the end. So this was a great venue. First thing I noticed was the parking bay. There was a lot of parking bay available, it was wheelchair accessible, and the view was really, really nice. that typical wine vineyard, that kind of vibe, you know. And also cabin in the wood vibe as well, very rustic. And like the inside decor was already there, it was already pretty. And I must say, one of the things that stood out from this venue was that they had a booklet, like a flippable file of the photos of the previous wedding that was held at that venue, which was really nice because obviously you can see like the potential. Sure, like you can imagine how it would look, but actually seeing the photos of the past weddings that happened there actually was really helpful. Also, they had their own catering, so we didn't have to now look for a different catering company, so that was a big thing. And just seeing the past photos, you can tell that they're experienced with like catering weddings, so that was quite nice. But the downside of this venue, and one of the things that we were really excited for the wedding, was a dance floor. They had quite a small dance floor, I would say, like for what we liked, because, you know, we were a young couple, we wanted to have a nice time, you know, joling on the wedding day. That was like what we were like envisioning. And also we wanted to have more like a formal, calm wedding in Korea, and South African wedding was gonna be like a proper celebration. Like that was what we wanted. We had the Korean wedding first, and that was gonna be more, you know, chilled, solemn and quiet, that kind of vibe. And then we're gonna end the whole, and you will know by now, the whole 2-week travel in Korea, wedding in Korea, fly back to South Africa to do the wedding, and 2 weeks of traveling, all that. So we were gonna do like a proper celebration for South African wedding, and a small dance floor was just not gonna do for us. So that was quite sad because we were like, oh, the venue is quite nice, but small dance floor. And also the venue itself was ever so slightly too small for us. So that was also one of the things. We were expecting about 130 people as guests. Somehow there were so many people. I thought we were gonna struggle to find 100 people. But anyway, so the venue was slightly small and the dance floor was small. So we were like, not too sure, but maybe. Gosh, guys, I'm actually like baking right now. It's been raining the whole morning and now the sun's here. So I was like, okay, let's film in the sun, and now I'm sweating. Anyway, let's get out of the sun a bit and talk about the third venue. So the third venue that we went to was called Kirstenbosch, and you would be very familiar with Kirstenbosch if you are local. Kirstenbosch is a botanical garden in Cape Town. We really like this garden, so when we realized Kirstenbosch could be our wedding venue, we were like, that might be it. They've got so many memories there, so many like nice time spent there with friends, or just like us two on a date. Like Kirstenbosch is so nice. It's like really pretty. Like we literally went there just to take photos of the nature. So why would we not want to get married there? So Kirstenbosch actually had two different options for us. One was their hall, and the other one was at one of their restaurants. So let's talk about the hall first. As you can see from the video, the hall was massive. It was big, which meant it was a huge space to fill up, especially with no decorations existing, because it's, you know, literally a hall. I think it usually gets used for like a business function. So that was quite daunting, because I'm also not that big on like crazy decor, like, and you know, all the flowers and stuff. Like I didn't really mind. Obviously I didn't want nothing, but this was like really nothing. So that was just too big for what we needed, and no pre-existing decoration. Oh, this was also for the other two. Most venues had chairs and tables available, or we could have like paid more to rent like specific chairs and tables. Kirstenbosch didn't really have that. They had like, I can't remember how the tables looked, but I remember the chairs, they were like ugly. It was black, cushioned, like, oh, business function chair kind of chair. So we would have had to hire like different chairs from like a separate company. So that was also like, Also, the actual ceremony would have happened in the garden, and the distance that we would have had to walk on hill with, you know, obviously in dress and all that, was just too much. We had to walk quite a bit, and they're like up hills because, you know, it's a botanical garden. So that was a bit also like not too great. Like we had to walk so much. And thirdly, it was like not exclusive entrance. The hall where it was situated was by the entrance of the botanical garden, which meant that everyone who's entering and exiting the garden would have walked past our like reception area. So that was also like so I didn't like that. So like the view was okay, but like the lighting wasn't also great either. But then I think the day we went was slightly raining. That's right. It was slightly raining, so the lighting wasn't great. And I'm sure it would look pretty on like a nice sunny day, but it was just not it. So we knew that this is not going to be the wedding venue. Okay, so the restaurant at the Kirstenbosch was called Moyo restaurant, and this restaurant, I would say, like the first impression was quite nice, but it didn't have like exclusivity again. Like we would have used a part of the restaurant, like I think as you walk in, there were like two sides of the restaurants, and we're gonna use one side. So we wouldn't have exclusivity of the whole restaurant, which again, I don't like that. And second of all, the dance floor was very separated to where everyone would be sitting. So we didn't like that disconnection between people who'd be like chilling and people would be dancing and celebrating. Like everyone should be in one like nice area so everyone can like, you know, not be disconnected. And also it wasn't like a dance floor, it was just a section that can be used as dance floor. So that was also like, and it just didn't feel like a wedding venue. It felt like a, you know, like a restaurant that you can borrow for function, but not necessarily for wedding. So that's also why we didn't go with them. It's just too hot. I have to change the angle. Sorry guys. Let's look at the next venue. The next venue we went to was Kelvin Grove, which was quite different to like any other venues that we went to. But I mean, I must say all the venues we went to had very different looks and very different vibes. But Kelvin Grove, this was kind of like a more like a ballroom vibe. And I thought it was quite cool because my husband's parents, they actually got married there. So just like having that family tradition going, I think would have been quite cool. But it didn't really feel like us. The space itself was very big, was very spacious. It had that like nice classic like ballroom vibe. I don't know how else to describe it. You'll see from the video that it's got that typical ballroom vibe. It just didn't feel like us. That was pretty much why. It just didn't feel like us. All these venues, like obviously it's hard to find something that's like, you know, it's just us. But we did find it. We did find out of all these like 7 different venues that we're like, okay, this is kind of like our vibe, you know? So even though it has such pretty decor and such good potential, we thought we wouldn't go with Kelvin Grove. But it was quite close to where we're living, so in that regard, it was kind of nice. But yeah, I think when we got there, when I got there at least, I thought it's not really us. So that was that. The next venue we went to was a restaurant in Constantia. If you're not familiar with Cape Town, Constantia is one of the big winery area in Cape Town. Anyway, it was called Simon's Restaurant in one of the wineries. And I actually had quite big hopes for this restaurant, this venue, because, well, first of all, it's in a wine estate in Constantia. It's already like, whoa, bougie. But then I realized it's actually not that winery, that vibe. Because, you know, restaurant at a wine estate, I was expecting it would be like obviously indoor restaurant area, but it will have like that backdrop of the winery and, you know, that pretty nature and all good stuff. But this restaurant was very much like closed in, and also like I knew it wasn't going to be chosen because you walk in and it's just dark. Like the walls are painted black. I don't know, maybe dark navy, but I think it was black. It just didn't scream wedding. I mean, if you like that, you like it, but it wasn't really for me. Like the outdoor area was really pretty because I think if we chose this place, the reception would have happened in the restaurant, but the actual ceremony would have happened outside. There was a nice, I think it was a willow tree, there was a nice tree with the vineyard background, and that looked really pretty, and that was kind of the vibe that I really liked. If the rest of it was kind of like that, I think that could have been it, because the actual ceremony area was really pretty, but the inside area was just not us. We've got 2 more venues left. The next venue was McPherson's in Table View. So the Table View, as the name suggests, has amazing view of the Table Mountain, which is typical Cape Town backdrop. So that was really nice. Like, the view was really nice. And the venue itself was pretty, and it already had pretty much like most of the decor done. And I think they did like a wedding or like a baby shower, that kind of like still wedding related functions, not like business function. So pretty view, pretty venue. They had really nice outside area with the Table Mountain and like the, I can't remember, the meadow or the swamp. I don't know what the area is called, but really nice grassy background with the Table Mountain. So that was also very nice. They also had their own accommodation that was like run by the same people. So that was also great, that we didn't have to now drive all the way back home after the venue, after cleaning up the venue. So that was really great. And big enough dance floor. This, as I said, this was big. Big enough dance floor. That was good. And yeah, they had like, how do I say it? They have like a enclosed outdoor area in the middle where we would do the ceremony, and then you go inside, which looks into that patio area. So everything is like separated but also connected, because you can like see everything from one like part of the venue. So that was really nice as well. And it was exclusive, thank goodness. I mean, there were other places with exclusivity, but you know, with all these other great view and great venue and big dance floor, all these things, and the exclusive use was amazing. And lastly, it was close to the beach, which meant that we were able to go and take photos on the beach before the ceremony. So we were like, okay, we're just hearing good things about this venue. What's the catch? 2 things that I noted down as like negative were, one was it's a little far out. It's about 40-ish minute drive from where we live. So that was a little bit, but the fact that they had accommodation right there at the venue changed quite a bit. So that was that. And the second thing was that when we initially visited, they had this outdoor area which we would take photos on the wedding day. That area was still being sort of developed. They were still tidying up that area, so it didn't look too great at that time. But those 2 were the only 2 downsides of this place. And the last venue that we went was called Black Marlin Restaurant in Simonstown. Once again, a little bit of a drive, like 40 minutes drive. Second of all, it was quite small. The restaurant was really small, and it's really just restaurant as well. Like, there was no space to have a dance floor. I guess if we really wanted to, we could have maybe danced on the beach, because it was right next to the beach. There's literally like a spot right outside of the restaurant where you could walk down, and there was beach right there. So I guess we could have chilled and danced and celebrated on the beach, but not really like what we were envisioning anyway. But that could have been an option. So yeah, and because of the ocean being right next to the restaurant, the view was great. But as I said, it was too small and just restaurant vibe. So yeah, I think that's all that I have to say about all 7 different wedding venues that I went to. And I just want to talk about a few different things that I sort of learned throughout this venue searching. Let's move the camera again. 7 things that I noted down that I thought was quite important when you are looking for a wedding venue. Oh, and also, if you've seen the wedding photos, you might have already guessed. But if you haven't, guess what venue we ended up going with. If you went to all these venues, which one would you choose? Because everyone has different tastes, so yeah. Thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys soon in the next one. Bye.